and what is also going to happen today. Now, it's quite interesting that this lioness decided to leave her cubs at this stage of the day. I think it's because she knew that it's the most dangerous time for them is the darkest hours of the night. That's when the hyena are lurking around. That's when leopard are lurking around. And even other lions that may not belong in this territory. So those cubs have got a huge risk at the moment, being so young. Sadly, the mortality rate of cubs is very high. Only about 50% of cubs will make it to maturity, and that's a good statistic. So she's got a lot on her plate, and I think she's done a great job in tending to her cubs this evening, although we do not know what she's going to do about that conundrum with that cub that is stuck in the crevice. It's been calling out to her, and she simply doesn't know what to do. Hello to Jason. You're interested to know if the lioness within this pride will share the responsibilities of nursing the cubs. And yes, interestingly they do. They definitely have more of a pull towards their own cubs. But even last night we saw one of the other members of this pride return from suckling her 3 little cubs. And then what she did was she came and lay down with the other cubs, which are a bit older, and those cubs started suckling her. So to give you a bit of a breakdown of how the dynamics of this pride work, their name is the Agama pride. There's 4 lioness with 7 cubs that are about 6 months old roughly, another 3 that are about 2 months old, and another 3 that are only about 4 weeks old, one of which is stuck in a crevice. So 4 adults, 13 cubs, lots of hungry mouths to feed. Possibly we will be able to meet up with the rest of the pride a little bit later, but at this stage we simply do not know what is going to happen. Now, you may think that this technique isn't very proactive of her, and interestingly, it is. By sitting and waiting, it's far more difficult for prey to detect her, so this is a good strategy that she's employing, and like I said earlier, she's strategically positioned herself on a pathway that she knows animals use, and by lying in wait, she can rely on something coming stumbling into her, rather than having her having to creep up to it. So it's a clever strategy that she's employed, and who knows what will happen. Time will tell. We're going to send you up to the migration control room to James. See you later.
Now, thank you very much to all of you who have responded to my question as to who your favorite migration character is going to be. Noah, you said lions. Kiki Beth said wildebeest. Lady Starfire, crocodiles. Well, Noah, you'll be very happy. And Goldie Rocks, bless your sweetheart, you said, it's me. I'm very pleased with that, Goldie Rocks. I hope that you like my migration outfit. Marvellous. Now, we had Scott up here. We're going to head all the way down to the very south, where a very large grouping of wildebeest is, and in amongst them is Jamie Patterson. She watched a rather interesting thing last night. Have a look. This botched hunt is both amusing and interesting. All 4 young lionesses, 3 males and 1 female, are well fed and fat. But the migration herds are a temptation far too strong to resist. This somewhat ridiculous attempt shows a few things. The young male has a huge amount to learn about hunting, firstly, and secondly, that lions will hunt even when they are not hungry. The instinct to stalk and chase is just simply too strong, especially when there is so much food around. Right, we're going to head over to Jamie now, and she'll tell you more about this fascinating pride.
What an incredible evening it has been with these thoroughly entertaining young lions, and a very good morning to all of you as we watch these lions in infrared, and the dawn out here in Kenya is just starting to break. My name is Jamie, and this morning Dave is on camera, and we have had the most extraordinary night, as you saw earlier, with these young, probably around 2-year-old lions right down to the south, and probably experiencing their very first, or their second migration, but the first one that they can really understand. And they've been using it to practice their hunting skills, which I have to confess, leave a little bit to be desired. But that, of course, is the wonderful thing about the migration. While the Angamas struggle on to find food to feed their cubs, these lions don't have to struggle at all. We're surrounded by hundreds of thousands of wildebeest all around them. Last night, their mother caught 3 wildebeest, so they have full bellies and really can just take this opportunity to practice their hunting skills. Now, don't forget, because this is a live safari, that you can send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. There was a young lioness over there in the road. I'm just going to check and see where she might be. Where did she go? There's lions roaring off in the distance. Let's shuffle around a bit so that we can see them. Can you hear them roaring? Just listen. What a beautiful sound. Now, Cleveland or go home, lovely question coming from you. You want to know, how much will a lion eat in a week? Typically, you're looking at a lion eating something every 2 or 3 days. But during the Great Migration, there is such an abundance of food that they are pretty much eating every single day. And they can eat up to 5% of their body mass in one go. That's an enormous amount of food. At the moment, they're not struggling at all down south. There's plenty of food available. Let's just carry on and go and find a different position so that we can see the lions hiding in the long grass. So these lions actually have it really, really easy. So easy, in fact, that they never...
Right, hello everybody. Sorry about that slightly abrupt change. We are, of course, bringing to you a very live safari all the way from the wilderness here in Kenya, and that brings with it some technical glitches and difficulties. Now, sorry, excuse me, I wasn't quite prepared. We were doing the lights and, well, titivating a little bit. Let's show you where everyone is in this 370,000 acre wilderness. Scott Dyson is over there. He of the, well, he's got a hairy face, very manly looking fellow. Then we have got Jamie down here, inescapably unmanly and wonderfully feminine. And then Brentley Smith, who, well, he's sort of halfway between the two, but feral. He's somewhere around here looking for lions. So that's the lay of the land. They are a long, long way from each other. From Scott to Jamie is probably about 25 miles as the crow flies, or as in this case, as the Ruppel's griffon vulture flies. Now, the Mara is a spectacular, spectacular area by night and by day. Have a look at this.
The iconic Masai Mara is a boundless wilderness bursting with life. Its inspirational beauty captivates the hearts of many around the world. But the exploration of this breathtaking wilderness has just begun. The rains have come and gone, giving life to the river and new growth for food. New characters, new stories. Welcome to the Mara.
Welcome back. We are live again with this single lioness from the Agama Pride. Now, she was initially facing us, and she's just pivoted her head around in that direction. There doesn't seem to be any prey, but what could happen is that she may have been able to pick up the other pride members calling. Look, there she goes again. Now, their senses are so much better than ours. Not just their hearing, their smell, their sight, their night vision. And she is certainly very, very focused. Oh, there she goes. She's going to try and call the rest of the pride. This is what's called a contact call. It's a low murmur, but again, like I said, their hearing is so good that even lying quite some distance from here may be able to hear her. And who knows, maybe she can even hear them talking back to her now. These are really great prospects. It'll be incredible to see these lions reunite with one another. They're incredibly social cats. And to see them reunite is one of my favorite things. Hello, Marissa. You interested to know how far I am away from this lion at the moment? Oh, quiet. She's getting louder and louder. And who knows, if we're lucky, she may let off a full-blown roar. I'm sure she's desperate to catch up with her pride mates. Not only to just see them and socialize with them, but she knows that together they form a formidable hunting pack, whereas at the moment she lacks the ability to join in on the benefit of teamwork. Sorry, Marissa, back to your question now. That is the joy of being on a live safari. You don't know when the lions are going to roar or hunt. Back to that though, you'd like to know how far we are away. I would say we're about 40 meters away, roughly about 100 feet, so not far at all. And what's important to know is that these lions have become used to vehicles in the Masai Mara. They don't harass them, they don't feed them, and we basically become neutral beings. So she pays no attention to us, even though we're big, even though we're a little bit noisy. It's as if we're almost not here. And you'll see that as the morning unfolds, as the weeks unfold, these lions will brush past our vehicles and they will pay no attention to us. And that's so important, because the last thing we want to do is interfere with what they're doing. We merely want to spectate. And isn't it wonderful that you are part of the largest safari vehicle on the planet at the moment, spectating wildlife in Africa? Here she goes again. She's going to let off another roar. Or is she? Wouldn't it be wonderful to know what messages she's getting back, if any, from these calls? The rest of the pride could be quite far from here. We don't know. Well, while we try and wait to unpiece this puzzle, we're going to send you back up to the control room.
Now, as well as being an extremely exciting wilderness area, it is also tremendously relaxing to be out here. We're going to play a game together, you and I, called Two Truths and One Lie, which will pit my intellect against the collective intellect of all of you. The way you play it is to pick which one of the next three statements I'm going to give you is a foul and contemptible untruth. Hashtag Safari Live is the hashtag that you use, and then you write answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3, depending on which one you think is rubbish. Are you ready? Here we go. Statement number 1 is that the wildebeest migration is the furthest migration of any animal in the world. Statement number 2 is that the wildebeest migration is the largest hoof migration in the world, largest number of hoofed mammals migrating. And statement number 3 is that the wildebeest make up the greatest proportion of the migrating herds in this whole migration story. So those are your three statements there. You saw them up on the screen, so I shan't repeat them. And you just write hashtag Safari Live, answer 1, answer 2, or answer 3, depending on which one you think is nonsense. Now, these are not here simply as props. They're here to show you where the migrating herds are. They are coming up from the south. Tanzania is just below the picture there, and these animals are heading into the long grass plains in the south here, along the banks of the Sand River, where there's been good rain this year. Most excitingly for the Agama pride, who are waiting desperately for the migration to reach them. As Scott said, they've got 13, possibly 12 hungry mouths to feed. They're over here coming up this way. Now, Bobby, you've said, how long does the migration last? Thank you for your question. The migration is ceaseless. It continues all the time. They will come in here and probably depart around September or October and head back down towards the southern plains of Tanzania, where these already pregnant wildebeest cows will give birth to some 500,000 young babies, 250,000 of which will unfortunately not make it home, which is a bit sad. So, these lionesses with Jamie have been hunting wildebeest all night. These young males with Brent, which hopefully we will meet soon, have been hunting wildebeest. And up here, we have the Agama pride waiting desperately for the migration to reach them. They are hunting zebra largely, and in fact, it's been a fascinating thing to see how the strategies of these lions have changed over the time that they have been waiting for the migration. We're going to go away for a short break now. Please don't go anywhere. When you get back, hopefully the Agama pride on the hunt. Hello, Internet audience. As I say to you always here during these trying times, it's wonderful to have you with us. And I'm just going to take a seat here on my sofa and recover slightly. It has been, well, a little stressful from a technical point of view. I hope that you like the decorative effects and attempts that we've made in this room. It's an attempt at making a sort of, well, an old school gentleman's safari study or library, but of course without the killing, which of course is what the old gentlemen used to do. In fact, they used to shoot everything they could find. Here we're rather more sort of into the studying of the animals that we have. I will also let you in on another secret, and Fergus will follow me here. The secret is that the electricians here in Kenya are, shall we say, not from the top drawer. And it means that every time we need to change the lighting in here, which we're going to do now, I need to climb up this rather rickety ladder. They don't sell ladders in Kenya either, by the way. You have to build one every time you want to climb anything. There we are. How's that, Fergus?
That
is that all right? Right, Fergus is on camera, obviously, which means that despite my exalted position and, well, spanky outfit, which is not designed for climbing, I'm required to behave like a colobus monkey for most of the morning. I'm just going to turn this off. I hope that you're all enjoying your migration safari. I think it's rather fun to be here in Kenya. The dawn is about to break, by the way, and, well, I wonder if we're not allowed to have a peek at can we have a peek at one of these cameras or not yet? Yes? No? Oh, no, we don't want to have a peek at the cameras yet, apparently. We're just going to move this light. Yes. You see, the TV audience can't see how we are managing this because, well, frankly, it looks a little frightening to have me doing the electrics in this place. Okay, Fergus, are you happy with all of that?
Indeed.
Good. Okay, we're going to head out to Scott now. He's with the lions, and we'll come out of advert break with him. See you later.
Hello everyone, isn't this so exciting? Now, this lioness has just let off a full-blown roar, and I'm hoping that's going to attract either her pride members or possibly the big males. Where will they come from? Will they come? Certainly good prospects. Do you want to start up at the top there, Genre, or are we just going down here? Hello? We are testing my sync. Hello? Hello? Hello is the word we use to test sync. That's why I keep using it again, and it's going to happen again. Hello? I'll mix it up. Bonjour. Jumbo. Jumbo Swahili. Sawubona. That's Zulu. All good. Sorted out. Well done, team. Perfect. Thank you, Kirst. What we might do is just say James is up on the hill there, and then come down to the lion.
Can I do my switch there?
You can switch there. Welcome back. You are live again in the Masai Mara, and the good news is we're about to change the camera settings from infrared to our special low light camera. It's still quite dark, but this camera's got incredible capabilities. Check this out. Now, James is up on that hill, looking down on us, and now we have got color, far more color than I can actually see with my naked eye. The lioness is still here in this big open clearing. She's just let off one loud roar, and I'm hoping that that is going to attract possibly her pride members, or who knows, possibly the big dominant male lions, Fang and his two brothers. So great possibilities. The fact that she's calling loudly, she wants to give away her position to other pride members, and they may come running in her direction. Now, even though she looks sleepy, don't be fooled. The slightest little opportunity that presents itself to her, she'll be up in a flash and making the most of it. But for now, she's had a long night tending to those cubs, and they don't they will be able to mix things up a little bit at night, but at the end of the day, they need to get as close as their prey as possible, and it depends on the circumstances. Now she's on her own, so she's going to have to differ her hunting techniques to that of when she is with her pride and her team members, because when they are together, they do have this ability to be able to work out a plan, encompass their prey before surging in and trying to capture it. The good news is, Adessa, is that if you keep on following these safaris, we can guarantee you are going to see some hunts unfold. It's just a matter of time. What a beautiful morning it is. We are in for a treat. And I just cannot wait to see if any other lions come roaring in. I keep turning around to make sure none are approaching from behind. We've got an idea that some of the pride may be kind of behind her in that direction, the opposite direction she's looking. We had a report that some of her pride members were seen quite far off towards that forest, possibly beyond that. But since that report, which was late yesterday evening, that pride, the rest of the pride could have moved a long way. Speaking of lions moving a long way away, why don't you go and see what Jamie's lions are up to?
Our lions are full of the joys of spring. So as I mentioned earlier, unlike the Angamas up where Scott is, these boys have the privilege of having the migration arrived at their doorstep. So these boys, oh, they're running along, look how much fun they're having. These boys are the young members of the Sala's pride, and apparently they've actually been absent from the main pride for a considerable period of time. Well, when your bellies are full, there's not much else to do but enjoy yourself with a bit of a playtime. And this is one of my favorite things to watch about lions. They've got so much food available to them that they can afford to expend energy on things like playfulness. And I think that as human beings, we always connect a lot with animals. There we go, I can see one boy. Now, Roger, you want to know if male lions migrate with the lionesses. Hold on one second, Roger. Let me get you a view of the lions. There we go. Oh, Roger, The male lions don't migrate with the lionesses, and in fact, once they reach a certain age, which is around about 3 years old, but it will be dependent on circumstances, they will leave the rest of the pride and go off on a basically nomadism. What we have found, though, is that a lot of young males will actually follow the Great Migration. So whilst lionesses have territories and dominant male lions have territories, oh look, he's got the wildebeest head, will serve as something to keep him occupied for a while. It's not really doing that because he's hungry. He's just doing it because he needs some entertainment. A little bit gory for some of you. We apologize for that, but it is just one of those things out here. It is all part of nature. So, Roger, the young males will move about on their own for a while or in groups together. Now, if you would like your question answered just like Roger, Twitter. And there's all sorts of wonderful things and the way that the migration affects the behavior of these animals. As a young male lion, of course, this particular gentleman's life is actually going to be quite tough over the coming months. He's got maybe another year to spend with his mum and the rest of the pride and his sister, and then after that, dangerous time in a young male's life. And it's only when he's around about 5 or 6 years old that he will be strong enough to fight for and maintain a territory. Here come the lions dashing in. Oh, the lioness has been pinned down off to our right. They are full of the joy. So that lioness at the back is the sister of the 3 young males that we're with. All the same age, all from the same litter. And that's another difficult thing that they will have to face in the coming months, is the breaking of those bonds. She will stay with her mother and with the rest of the pride. Her brothers will move off. I'm having a ball. She's a little bit outnumbered, though. While our lions work off their high energy and high spirits, the amazing thing is that we've been up all night with them, able to watch them thanks to the help of some amazing technology. Let's hear more about that from James.
We do have some astonishing technology here, and I'll share a little bit about it with you now. I just want to tell you that I lost my game. My intellect was incapable of beating all of your collective intellects. 65% of you said that this was not the furthest migration in the world. It is not. You're absolutely correct. That honour goes to the humped-backed whale, which goes from pretty much pole to pole every single year. And then 15% of you said that this is not the largest hoofed migration in the world. It is, actually. This is the largest group of hoofed migrating mammals. The reason it's so awkwardly hoofed mammals and not just mammals is because there are larger bat migrations. And then, yes, the wildebeest do make up by far the greatest proportion of this migration. Now, you've seen the infrared cameras. We're going to be taken to the skies shortly in a balloon, so we'll be floating over the world's most romantic wilderness area. We've got some river cameras, which, as the light starts to come up, will show you some of the crocodilians down there, and I know many of you like to see the crocs. But I think one of the most exciting things we have is a thermal camera. So take a look at what Brent saw this last night. This is a magnificent little cat called a serval, renowned for its jumping ability. And watch the little bird hotspots on the top of your screen there. And there they go, exploding off into the night. Isn't that fun? Now, the reason you haven't seen Jamie yet is because her lips are not moving at the same time as her sound is coming, which means we have a slight sync issue. We're still going to spend some time with those lions, but you probably won't see or be delighted by the face of Jamie Patterson, so I'm sorry about that. We are working on the problem. For now, let's head straight back down the escarpment to Scott and the Agamas. Sorry to bring.
Welcome, and we've been chasing these boys all morning. These are 2 of the most famous male lions in the whole Masai Mara, the Notch boys, Ron and Notch 2, and they have given us a run around all night tonight, and they are now out on patrol after already finishing off a wildebeest, having a scuffle with some ladies, and now they've been walking around, roaring, declaring their ownership of this particular section of the Masai Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I I have them on camera, and we are right down in the south of the Mara. The Mara River is just over my shoulder there, and this is the last two surviving members of the famous Notch Coalition. And look at them, aren't they spectacular? Now you can see the zebra running in front of them. They are not hunting the zebra, and as I said, they're out on patrol. Now remember, this is 100% live. We are sitting in the middle of the migration. It's all scattered because these big boys have just been marching through, creating chaos. Okay, well, let's catch up with them quickly as they head further down towards the zebra. Now remember, this is 100% live, and if you want to ask us any questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Now, while I catch up with those lions, we can tell you a little bit about what happened last night with that serval. Wasn't that incredible? So we are lucky enough to have a thermal rig on top of our normal setup, and that enables us to see the heat signatures of the animals that is out there. So you can actually have a look at our thermal camera right now. Even though it is light, it is still cold in the morning. Now you can see the small signatures in front are the lions, and the signatures running around in the background are that big herd of zebra. Now this is just a most magnificent morning. There's lions everywhere. Now, belly dancer Soraya, sorry, I'm just concentrating on driving off-road. There are lots of holes and things. I would like to know, who is the dominant male lion coalition in the Mara? Now, it all depends where you are. Now, there are many different dominant coalitions. Now, for this south or central corner, where the Mara River crosses into Tanzania, both sides of the river are dominated by these big, beautiful beasts called the Notch Boys. Now, they've moved from further north originally. Now, the one thing that makes the Notch Boys so incredible, for lack of a better word, is their history. Now, it is the first and only time I've heard of a male lion joining his sons in a coalition. So the original Notch was an old male, and as he came towards the edge or the end of his tenure, his 5 young male sons were about to become independent, and instead of chasing them off as would normally happen, he joined them, and in so forth enabled him to reign a lot longer. So we're going to stick with these gorgeous Notch boys. Oh wait, have they heard something? They've just stopped. But we're going to go find out what that is. But it sounds like James is going to take you up into the sky.
Into the sky, everybody. First, we'll quickly go to the mountain camera. Can we go to the mountain camera quickly? Yes? No? There we are. There is a balloon, everybody, flying over the world's most romantic wilderness area. And now we're going to take you into the balloon with Senzo Mkhize. He is filming from the balloon, and I will tell you what he's seeing. There we are. You can see him floating there in the pre-dawn.
How awesome is this? I bet you most of you didn't think you'd be getting a flip on a hot air balloon today. And who knows what action we may capture from that bird's eye view. Now, we haven't moved too far. The lioness has just moved about 20 meters. She's vocalized about 2 or 3 more times since you've been gone, and I'm hoping she's going to do it again. It's one of the most epic things you can possibly hear in the African wilderness, is a lion calling out as loudly as it can. So there's been no real responses that I've heard, but that doesn't mean anything. My hearing's not nearly as good as theirs, so she may well know that other lions are coming, or may know their reports of what they're up to. But for now, as you can see, she's happy to sit down and wait. Now, who knows when she may get up? I'm really hoping that before the end of the safari, she might take us back to those cubs of hers, and who knows, maybe she'll even rescue the one that's stuck in the crevice. She certainly has the ability to, and we just cannot work out why she has decided to leave that cub stuck in this crevice despite its calls and cries to be rescued. Now, Christian, you've asked a very normal question, and that is, why don't we help this young cub? Why don't we help this lioness? Why don't we try and retrieve it from the crevice? And even though we could quite easily, that is not the way Mother Nature intends it to be. So we've got a hands-off policy. We let nature unfold as if we are not here. And like I said a little bit earlier, we are merely spectators, and that's the best thing us as humans can do when it comes to wildlife. As soon as we get too involved and start trying to manipulate things, it often doesn't end well. So we will not interfere and let her try and solve this problem for herself. And you know what? If she doesn't, that means it's just lucky for the prey animals, you know, the wildebeest, the zebra. It's one less predator for them. So it all balances out in the end. And also, it is important to remember that the mortality rate of these animals is high. Predators do lose a lot of their cubs. They don't make it to adulthood. And that is just the way Mother Nature has intended it to be. Now, she's listening out in the direction of where we had a report that the rest of her pride was. So maybe they're calling back to her. There's no prey in the immediate area that I can see, but that could change at any moment. The grass is long, we're in a slight depression here, and like I said, we know that the animals move along this pathway. There's a swamp below us, and there's a lot of lush vegetation there, which will provide these prey animals with a good lure to come into this area. Anyway, we're going to send you back to Jamie.
There we go, the migration, the tide of wildebeest moving slowly but surely to the north towards where Scott is. And this is a relatively small herd, but it's probably the herd that once upon a time this poor hapless member of the migration happened to belong to. The lioness finally feeding on the third and final buffalo, enjoying her meal. And of course, the wildebeest will either be hunted by lions, drown in the river, or get caught by a crocodile as they attempt the harrowing crossing that they have to endure each and every single year. But for the predators out here, it is a boon, and it does mean that they have plenty of food available, and it does keep them phenomenally healthy. All of the views out here are absolutely exquisite, and the lioness seems to be appreciating hers as the dawn breaks and the young male lions come bounding along, full of the joys of spring. You will notice another vehicle with us. That's actually one of the conservation vehicles, and they're here to help to... Let's go over to Scott and see what his lion's up to.
Welcome back, everyone, and I'm so glad you got to catch the end of that roar. Great stuff, isn't that incredible? Now, we would love to hear from you guys. Let us know your thoughts about what you think that lion sounded like. A one-word tweet to #SafariLive. We would love to hear your feelings. Now, hold on. I think I can hear a lion calling in the distance. But it's quite far away, so I can't be sure if it's going to be back. Now they're calling again. These lions could be coming here. They could be coming to reunite with her. You have to go away for a short break, but be sure you come back to see what this lioness is up to and whether the other pride members have joined. That wasn't pretty. Anyway. That was a bit tight. The ad breaks are not easy with the timing, and that the other lions that were roaring distracted me. But we got there in the nick of time, I believe. We are just going to reposition now quickly so that we can continue to get visuals of both the lion and balloon. And also, if we position this way, we will be facing these lions that I can hear roaring off to the south of us if they do come charging forward to greet this missing pride member. Little wattled lapwing. Tweet, 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 tweet. There it is. Oh, itchy wattle. I actually think I may have got the name wrong. That could be a crowned lapwing. I always get the two confused, so forgive me if I did. But it is very, very smart. Look at that. Okay, let me scan the horizon to see if we have any visitors approaching. Come on. The beauty of this place. It is a bit of a catch-22. I'd be surprised if the other Pride members actually don't come back. This is their usual hangout. They have spent a ridiculous amount of time in quite a small area since we've been here, and it's made our lives easy. And last night was the first report we actually got of them being quite far south. Not a huge distance, maybe 2 kilometers from here, but they have been sticking to a very, very concentrated area, which is the riverbed, quite a steep, gorged riverbed that feeds into the swamp. And more often than not, that is where they bring their cubs during the day. There is one lioness with quite small cubs that are only about 2 months old. The others that are about 6-7 months old, that's not, they can kind of hang out with the folks a little bit more, but the smaller cubs do need to be stashed away from time to time. Okay, well, we are going to be sending you back up the hill to Mr. Henry.
Hello, everybody. We're waiting for the television audience, of course. We're not back in TV, are we? I didn't miss something there, did I? No? I don't think we are. Good. Okay. We're going to go to the balloon fairly soon. I'd like you to look at my bald head juxtaposed with the sun. Isn't that a nice picture? Wonderful. Gorgeous. Yes, very nice. I seem to have missed a spot. Oh well. Luckily there's so little there that you hardly notice, of course. Okay. Fergus, we're now going to do the balloon shot, followed by the catch-up clip, which will... I need to be this side, really. Can I be over here for the catch-up clip? Is that all right? You want me to stand in front of the television to start with? But we're going to come out on the balloon shot, I think. Yes, yes. 1 minute, everybody, to TV. 1 minute to TV. 1 minute to TV. To TV. So we're going to go balloon correct, then catch-up clip correct. 2 catch-up clips. Yes? Am I right? "45 seconds. And then are we going to go catch-up clips? Yes? Yes? Right. Perfect. Okay. Right. Yes, I'll be over here. This is fine for you, Fergus. Welcome back to your very special migration safari, everybody. You can see us floating there over the Masai Mara. Hashtag Safari Live is how you speak to us. We'd love to hear your questions or comments as we, continue with the first of 7 live migration safaris. And those plains that you see now are going to shortly be covered in the wildebeest migration, with any luck, of course, because as Jamie was saying, the herds are heading up towards the north. Now, one of the central features of this migration story is the Mara River and the crossings that the animals make over it. And some of the lions, very cleverly, have managed to work out that, animals get a little tired crossing the river, and the Paradise Pride, which consists of 5 lionesses, ply their trade either side of the Mara River here. Take a look at what we saw last year in September. About 1,000 wildebeest passed this lioness, having escaped the perils of the river, probably expecting an easy afternoon. She was still pretty fat, with countless migration meals, but lions are nothing if not opportunistic. The first cow escaped with some fancy footwork, but one of the exhausted stragglers wasn't quite as fleet-footed and found himself pinned up against a termite mound by the powerful cat, and this, unfortunately, was his very final act in the migration story. So that was exit stage left, young wildebeest bull. Shame. Then, just the other day, the Paradise Pride, still occupying the same territory and employing the same strategy, managed to find the stupidest zebra in the world. We're going to get back to the story, but Jamie is now on the hunt.
Look at this. It just goes to show that absolutely anything can happen in the middle of a migration. The wildebeest have walked straight in the direction of the lions, and the young male is stalking them. Remember how I said that at this time of year food is in abundance, and sometimes the lions kill even when they're not hungry, and that's especially true of young males when they're practicing. In fact, young lions, when they're practicing their hunting technique. This lion's about, there he goes, look, he's going for it. Don't mess it up like last time, mister. Last time you raced in too fast, but this time you might be showing a little bit too much patience. But this is a whole stream of wildebeest. He's creeping closer and closer. He's probably about 60 feet away right now. He could go at absolutely any moment. Oh, David, lovely question from you. You want to know... Hold on. Is he going to go? Not yet. You want to know if lions usually hunt in the morning? Yes, absolutely. I've found that lions here in the Masai Mara hunt absolutely any time of the day. It doesn't get too hot here in the way that it does in South Africa or some of the further southern countries, so they can afford to hunt during the day. Obviously, as nocturnal creatures, the cover of night gives them a certain advantage. Oh, he's thinking about it. You saw earlier with that clip from James how the young male rushed in and he completely messed up the hunt. I think perhaps he's learned from his mistake. Judging, taking the opportunity. I think his confidence is... There he goes, he's going forward, he's creeping forward. The wildebeest haven't seen him. Oh, I think they might have spotted him. He's frozen. Using the grass as cover. Isn't it amazing how quickly they learn? And of course, his confidence would be considerably bolstered by the presence of his siblings, but they've abandoned him to this hunt. Well, obviously, their bellies are too full, but his is not. Just the tips of his ears showing. You can see how clearly they stand out. Gauging his angle. Which way are you going to go, boy? Planning, looking for a target. Perhaps he's looking for a young wildebeest. That would be a slightly easier kill for someone so experienced, or a lion so inexperienced. There's more coming still. That was not the last of them. and his brother's moving up behind him. Two sets of paws are better than one. Now don't you go rushing in. It's so fascinating watching the technique of, say, the Angamas, more experienced older lionesses, to the technique of these younger lions. They definitely don't use the landscape as much to their advantage as the lionesses or more experienced lions do. Creeping forward. I don't know where the other two lions are. They could be sneaking round. Ah, Robin, the famous misconception. You want to know why males are hunting? You thought the females did all of it. Absolutely, that is a myth. Male lions are very good at hunting. They have to hunt for themselves when they move away from the pride, and they instinctively start to practice just like all cubs do. So they learn to hunt. The one thing about male lions is that they overheat slightly faster than the females. They're bigger, they're bulkier, which makes them stronger, capable of bigger prey, but doesn't give them the same stamina that the lionesses have. Watch the black of his ears. That's the way that lions coordinate when they're hunting like this. Obviously, they can't shout across the savannah, "Hey, I'm going to the left." They have to communicate that visually. See the intentness now in their body language. And there's still hundreds more wildebeest streaming along in this line. The male on the right is much closer, but if he does chase, he's going to chase the wildebeest. Presumably his plan is straight towards his brother. This is incredible. Totally different approach from last night. Oh, there they go, they're racing forward. I don't know what spooked them, but as soon as they start to run, there's a good chance that the males are going to race forward towards them. Or they could just sit and watch them run away in complete confusion. That's not how it's done at all, boys. Flash, you want to know what percentage of lion hunts are successful? Around about between 1 in 10 to 1 in 12 is the average. However, that is completely different during the migration, because what happens is the wildebeest panic, as they have now. They forget that there are other lions. There's only so many places they can go, and so as a result, what they'll actually do is they'll be more successful, and they'll actually kill several wildebeest in one go. Okay, now we're all running back again. You can see they're completely panicked. They know that the lions are there, but they don't know where to go. I don't know where the other two are. What are you doing? Where are you going? Back to Tanzania, it seems. There aren't any less lions that way, I can assure you. Bye. Listen to the panic. Oh, I think we might be turning round. Panicked. Oh, and a flash of a Thompson's gazelle, if those of you with sharp eyes might have seen those. Yes, there are lions here. Oh, you poor creatures. Did you see a lion? I thought I saw a lion. Right. The male's still trying. He's still trying to creep around them. I'm going to get us into a slightly better position to see whether or not these males are still going to try this. While we do, let's go back across all the way to James to see what he has to show you.
Wasn't that so very special? I'll just quickly show you where it all took place. It's down here, and when Jamie says the Tanzanian border or going back to Tanzania, she's pretty much sitting on an international boundary there that, of course, the wildebeest don't show any heed to, and nor should they, of course. That is just very special to watch that. These are older male lions. And they, of course, did not do a great deal, well, they haven't done a great deal of hunting this morning, but those youngsters, well, they just can't escape trying it. Now, let's go straight to the air. I think we've got lions from the balloon. Look at that. There they are. Now, this could well be the Paradise Pride that we were talking about. It's a small speck in the middle of your screen there, a lioness sitting in what is probably known as the marsh area, so possibly offspring or closely related to the very famous marsh pride. And this area, of course, is where the Paradise Pride now plies its trade. And they were the lions that I was talking about before we went across to Jamie's, well, shall we say, fairly incompetent young males. She looks like a lioness who knows what she's about. And so she's resting as the day comes. She's waiting for the herds and possibly waiting for another creature to try and cross the river. Isn't that marvellous stuff? Okay, now, what I said to you was that these lions ply their trade on the river. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, from the balloon, we saw this. Have a look. This is one of, like I said, one of the most foolish zebras tried to cross here at Cul-de-sac Crossing, which is where we are there. And there it is, gormless creature, trying to cross the river without the protection of a herd. That's why I say he wasn't very clever. And what he was thinking, I'm not sure. But despite his idiocy, he managed to escape the attentions of two enormous crocodiles. But up onto the bank, he wasn't quite so lucky. Watch the top of your screen now. The lioness has come streaming down through the long grass, alerted by the commotion in the water, and looking for breakfast. The takedown is quick and almost effortless. Well, it looks effortless, but the zebra is about 700 pounds to the lioness's 250 odd, and her Paradise Plains pride mate eventually came to help. I think that was absolutely spectacular, and we had no idea it was going to happen, of course, because the balloon, as I say, a transient and completely uncontrollable experience. Let's go back up to the air now. Towards the river. Now, Senzor, who's the cameraman, as I said, is flying pretty much in a southeasterly direction. So he's in between this enormous floodplain, which can become a marsh. You can see the river to the right-hand side of where he is now. And some of the crossing points, which are extensively used during the migration pride, or during the migration season, will be, well, examined, I think, shortly by those lionesses. And we'll take a look at some of them, hopefully very soon, from the river cameras. Let's head straight back to the Agama Pride now with Scott.
Well, I must say I am very, very jealous of the views you've been getting of a lioness from that balloon. How incredible. Not much has changed here. The lioness that we are sitting with is still looking out to the south, hoping, I guess, that the other Pride members will come in. Thanks so much for all of you getting back to us with your one-word tweet. The one that I've chosen was earth shaking, and that's an absolutely perfect way to describe a lion's roar. I could literally feel the vibrations, and you can imagine when there's 2, 3, 4 or 5 of them, even the big males together. It's an absolutely incredible sensation to feel, and thank you so much to Karen in Georgia for choosing earth shaking as the one-word tweet. Now, what is going to happen? I keep peering through my binoculars, hoping that the other Pride members are going to poke their head over this crest where she's looking towards. Another thought that I've had, and let us know if you'd like us to do this, I'm thinking of possibly heading back to where that stranded cub is, just to see if everything's okay. We could get a visual of it from the road where we were, so there is a chance that we could go back and get you a glimpse of that tiny little cub. It's absolutely adorable. The other two were left about 200, 300 meters away from where the one is stranded, and they just scuttled into a very, very thick bush where they're going to hide out silently while they wait for their mother's return. Those are some geese making a racket. They're getting the morning started, chattering away. Now, John, you would like to know, how long has the cub been stuck in this crevice? We're actually not too sure. The first time these cubs were ever seen was on Sunday night, so quite recently, and since then none of us have seen them. So it could be days that it's been stuck there, but judging by its health, it looks like it's still in good condition. It's still got energy, it still looks like its belly's got some milk in it, so it's not situation critical yet. But I do fear for it, because the fact that she went down there could have grabbed it with her mouth and brought it out and didn't worries me. She also could have laid down there and let it suckle, but she didn't. Who knows why? Only time will tell. But at least, John, for now, I can say that that cub is still healthy, and I'm sure another 12 hours is not going to be fatal to it, but anything after that could start becoming a little bit dangerous. Okay, well, I'm sure you guys are all interested to know what's happening with the wildebeest and those lions of Jamie's that have been hunting them, so why don't you go back and see what's happening for yourself.
Good try, and it's certainly basically what you're watching is a learning experience playing out right in front of your eyes. Learning to work together as a team, learning to gauge the movements of their prey, pick a target. And if you watch older lionesses or older lions hunt, you'll see the way that they are totally and completely focused on the one animal that they plan on hunting. Whereas I think with these chaps, they're a little bit scatterbrained. They're not quite sure which target to pick. Good girl. Clever girl. Just gonna speak softly. She's walking right past the car. Right up past us. Hello, good girl. Well done, even with your full belly. Here she goes. Walking past us. We're just gonna keep nice and still while she walks past us. Obviously, we're making sure that we don't disturb them in any way. And can you believe it? The wildebeest are going back in that direction. That automatic instinctive drive to go north. And
now let's take you straight down to the river. Dusty crossing. Now that is the river there. You can see a whole lot of not much going on there, so we're going to swap across to the Dusty crossing, which I should have warned our vision mixer about originally. Oh, we're not going to do that right now. Anyway, this is one of those, in fact, that was the crossing that the zebra crossed the other day, and of course the zebra are the vanguard of the migration. Other favourite migration characters, of course, we have got there some hippopotamus, and well, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see everyone's favourite migration villain. There he is. Can you see him there? I know that's jumping a little bit. I'm just going to go back a little, and then we'll try and zoom in on him. Waiting at the crossings, there are 3 crocodiles sitting there lurking in the water. I will try and zoom in on them slowly. There's just a little bit of jerk from this thing at the moment. There they are, and you can see, very difficult to see. We're going to go away for a short break. When you come back, we're going to tell you more about this magnificent river. Okay, everybody, well, there we have the crocodiles, of course, and we're just going to try and get a nice picture of them. No, let's go down. There we go. A little bit of a delay. Look at that massive thing. I mean, that chap is really gargantuan. When we come back to TV, I'll show you a little, well, enormous skull of a reptile roughly that size. A little known fact, of course, which I shall give you, as my favourite internet audience, is that apparently these things are not as ancient as we think they were. We've described them as being dinosaurs of the deep and sort of relics of the Jurassic Age, but latest research shows that they're probably not much older than us as a species. Years or so as a species. So although they look like something from the Jurassic Age, they are not. And they, of course, are perfectly adapted to living in the environments in which they find themselves at the moment. Isn't that amazing? Watch them swim. There's definitely some sort of interaction going on there. And I mean, we're so far away from understanding anything about mammal communication. For us to understand anything about reptile communication, I think we're probably, well, decades away from. You might also be able to... Can you hear the birds calling outside? Is that possible, Kirsten? So we've got a microphone sitting outside in amongst the trees there, listening to the dawn chorus as it breaks here. There are a couple of bulbuls. I can see a few chats. Just a wonderful, wonderful morning, as most of them are here in the Masai Mara. So let's just keep watching the clock. We've got 2.5 minutes. And then, Kirsten, we are going to do the river roll-in, are we? All right. Okay, copy that. Scott first, river cam, roll-in. Got it. Unless Sensor spots a kill from the balloon, of course, which would be rather interesting. I must just give a big thank you to all of you watching on the internet for your continued support. We do appreciate it hugely. As I've said to you before during these advert breaks, it's like being, well, surrounded by a team, if you like. When we go into our advert break, we feel the warmth of our regular internet audience, and it's wonderful to have you along for the ride. All right, let's go across to Scotty D. Safari and find out what's happening with him.
We're in luck. She's decided to get up, and who knows where she's going to take us, but I'm happy that she's moving again. I was running out of things to say in that last spot. So this is a very pleasant change of scenery, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful as she's heading into the sea of grass, into the sun. So we are going to get some magical shots thanks to Jean-Dre's handiwork on this camera. Shame, where's some food for you? Come on, food. Welcome back to Safari Live Migration. The lioness that has been fairly sleepy since you joined us has decided to get up, and she's going to take us into this gigantic sea of grass. Hard to believe that when the migration reaches this northern parts of the Masai Mara, it'll only take a week or two for them to completely mow this grass flat. But for now, she still has great cover with which to stalk. I hope she heads off into this grass now, because it'll provide us with the most beautiful views and a great example of how well she blends in. Another thing I would like to show you guys, when she turns her head to the left, she's got a little scar below her ear, and it's very important that we start to explain to you who all the different lion characters are, because over the coming weeks we're going to be able to get you right up close and personal to these animals. We've got special permission to go wherever we like, day and night, to get you into the best positions possible. Now, it's not uncommon for most predators to move short distances and then stop, listen, assess. Even now, she's got herself onto a small little termite mound to give herself a bit of a vantage to gaze for prey in the distance. Now, I can't see any, but that's not to say there isn't some prey nearby. Some antelope could be sleeping in the grass. There's a few bushes that could be obstructing our views. And isn't this absolutely breathtaking? Hello to John. You would like to know how many prides are in the area? Well, in the whole Mara, there are very, very many. And to be honest, even the researchers who are based here aren't actually sure of exact numbers and exact dynamics of the prides. But I would guess easily in the entire Masai Mara, 30 prides would be a very easy number to reach. But in this immediate vicinity, the competition to this lioness and her three counterparts is another pride of 3 lioness. They actually spend time in the direction she's looking in, not too far from here. There's also bigger prides of lioness further to the south, but we've only been here a couple of weeks, so we're not too sure of the exact dynamics yet. But that is the beauty of it. Over the next few weeks, you guys will be able to learn with us, join in, and find out what exactly is going on with the lions of the Masai Mara. Now, while she waits and listens and looks for prey, we're going to send you back up to James in the migration control to let you know a little bit about the river.
Well, we're going to have a look at the river, but first, we're going to have a look at what I think is my favourite villain. My name is James Henry, and it is wonderful to have you on board for this live migration safari. Remember, hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us, and that is on Twitter, not in any other format. So, hashtag Safari Live, you can send us your questions and comments, and what I'd like you to do now is tell me who your most notorious or terrifying villain of the migration is. While you think about that, we're going to take to the air. There we have rhino. Can you believe it? Black rhino from the balloon. Well done, Senzo. This is very, very special, everybody. That looks to me like a cow and her, well, sub-adult calf. And they're a little bit nervous of the balloon, but that's okay. Like I said, it's a totally transient experience, this balloon, and so it will pass over the top of them and they will head on with their lives. There you can see it's already gone over the top. That's very special, everybody. That is the black rhino, one of the most endangered animals in all the world. All right, you saw the size of this massive crocodile skull. Let's head to an animal with a skull the same size now at the river. There, on the right-hand side, is a crocodile that I think is about the same size as the one we've just been looking at now on the table there. It's an enormous, enormous reptile. And as I was telling my friends just now, the crocodile is not, in fact, a relic of the Jurassic Age or the dinosaurs' age. It is, in fact, much more closely aligned with our time. So as a species, it's no more old than we are. It's only about 500,000 years old as a species, which I think is fantastic. For many, many years we thought it was a dinosaur of some sort, but it is not. Now, as I said, the river plays a central role in the migration story. So let's have a look at the role that it plays.
Rising on the western edges of the Great Rift Valley, and flowing into Lake Victoria some 245 miles away, the Mara River is a rich vein of life flowing through one of the world's most iconic wildernesses. Fed by African thunderstorms, the rapids and pools are home to countless creatures of all kinds. All of these animals find sustenance in and around the river's water. For the wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle of the Great Migration, the Mara River is the quencher of thirst and a fatal gauntlet. The herds cross the torrent for better grazing. But beneath the muddy surface lurks some of the world's biggest crocodiles. They have been waiting for the migration for almost a year. For those that survive the water, rocks, and crocodiles, pastures of sweet oat grass await.
Welcome back, and My name is Brent Leo Smith, and we're sitting perched above the migration. Well, a tiny portion of it. There's probably 30 or 40,000 animals just below us. And you've just watched the story about the Mara River, and that dark green line in the distance is the Mara River. And as we pan slowly across. Vim, there's something happening. Look at those wildebeest running in the distance there. There's a lion. There's a lion in the far distance chasing wildebeest on the plain. Now, I don't even know which lions these are. Oh dear. Oh, it's all happening out here. I've lost sight of the lioness now on the grass. I just managed to pick her up as the wildebeest started running. Look how they're massing to keep away. Remember, this is happening live right now in Kenya. From the Masai Mara, we're watching a lion-wildebeest interaction from up high. I've lost sight of the lioness. Now, Chelsea is wondering, why do the wildebeest travel in a line like that? Is it safer? Well, I think it's also sort of easier when they move, especially through rocky terrain and that. And when they're moving, they tend to travel in a line. It looks like that lioness missed. And you can see now how they're running away. Can you see her, VM? Yeah. We can't see her again. Well, we'll have to go down there a little bit later. But Chelsea, when they're feeding, they'll spread out. And as VM pans to the left, you will see how the moving wildebeest and the feeding wildebeest can often look quite different. Those are obviously bunched because there's a predator right there. And we will make our way straight there shortly. Now, as VM comes out, you'll see the wildebeest that aren't really moving and the zebra. They're much more spread out. They're not in a very straight line. And they're feeding. Now, this magnificent ecosystem is almost completely driven by the amount of grass and even the local rains. So these wildebeest actually crossed the river in this area, went into the Mara Triangle last week, and then it rained back here towards the east, and it brought them all back for a week, and now they're heading back to brave that murderous Mara River again. But we're going to rush down to where that lioness was. So while we do that, let's go back into the air.
Now, not a central migration character, of course, but a very important one to every ecosystem. And it is, in fact, down to this keystone species, that is, of course, the elephant, that we have these enormous clearings. So without the elephants, you'd find that this place was a lot thicker with bush, with woody species, with trees and bushes, and then it would not be able to support the enormous numbers of wildebeest and zebra and Thompson's gazelles and eland of the Great Migration. So although those elephants do not migrate, and they are found throughout this enormous ecosystem, they are a crucial keystone part of the migration story, because without them, this landscape would look nothing like it does now. And I think that's a lovely, lovely view of the keystone species. We're going to head now just down the slope to where the Agama lioness with Scott is on the move.
Welcome back, everyone. For those of you who may have joined in the safari a bit late, my name's Scott, and I'm just perched up like this as we're off-roading, and the grass is very long. I don't want to disappear down a porcupine hole. And the good news is this lioness is heading straight towards us. I'm just going to get us into position, and she's going to come streaming straight past us. So be ready for some close-up views of this lioness as she paces towards us. This is going to be so good. Another 20 meters and we'll be able to stop. I think this is good. Here we go. Here she comes. How awesome is this? To see a lioness strolling through this long grass in the early morning light. It doesn't get better than this. Hello to Von. You're interested to know if a lone lioness like this one will be able to bring down an adult wildebeest, and yes, certainly. Not easy, but definitely possible. And again, we are going to see this kind of action unfold in the coming weeks. You almost saw it with Brent. You've seen lions in the balloon, from the balloon with Senzo. So the lions are plentiful. All they need is a bit more prey. This lioness isn't as lucky as the ones down with Brent and Jamie. The migration is yet to reach these plains, but it will. And when it does, this lioness and all the others will certainly make the most of it. She's right in front of us. How cool is that? And we chatted a little bit earlier about how the lions have become relaxed with us as humans here, and it's taken years of good behavior, not getting involved, letting them do their business without interfering. And now they see us as neutral beings, and it allows us these up-close, intimate views. What also helps, like I said earlier, is we've got special permission to go wherever we need to go to get you guys into the best positions possible. So we're incredibly lucky to have that. Let's get moving. Now, what I can assure you is that she is heading to an area that is full of game. How long it will take for her to get there, I'm not sure. That I cannot guarantee. But there's a large network of swamps below us, and they attract the prey, especially at the moment that it's a little bit dry. So while we wait for her to get into a little bit of action, we're going to send you up to James to let you know a little bit more about the lions that we see.
Well, yes, more about the lions indeed, because we are still learning this ecosystem along with you, and over the course of the next 7 weeks, hopefully we will learn all of the major characters in the lion. Here we have the Agama pride. Now there are 4 lionesses, as we said, and they have been rather unimaginatively named at the moment. Agama female 1, 2, 3 and 4. There they are. We have yet to meet number 1. I'm hoping we're going to meet her fairly soon because she's quite distinctive, and we'll probably ask you to give her a name. We're not going to do that just yet because we still need to meet her. She is the mother of the 3 second youngest cubs, if you like. Then the other 2, of course, are the mothers of the rest of the 7. So we've got 13, well, like I say, probably 12 now cubs. Then we've got the notch boys down here. Now their sphere of influence is probably around here. I think they probably cross the river and go down. They dominate over the Purangut pride, which lives in this area, and the Salas pride around where Jamie is. And of course, Jamie has been with members of the Salas pride, which might be soon called the Salas breakaway pride, because they seem to be forming their own thing. And what's interesting here, of course, which you won't really be able to see, but that is that Notch 2 has got a missing bottom right canine. It's been cut in half. Ron has salon quality hair. Well, how appropriate. He looks a little bit like the Ron Burgundy of the lion world. So hopefully we'll get to know more about him as we progress with our 7-week safari. Let's head across to Jamie now and the Salas pride.
I can tell you that I'm certainly looking forward to following the progress of these Salas youngsters over the coming weeks and months, and hopefully watching them learn to improve their hunting technique. And speaking of hunting techniques, although they're taking a break now, just over the hill I can hear the sound of another massive herd of wildebeest. Let me just be quiet for a second so you can hear it. So that sound is coming.
All right, we're still here with you, everybody, and thankfully many of you have sent through, let me just turn off my sound, I don't like the sound of my own voice. Many of you have sent through answers, of course, to well, who your favourite villains are going to be. Nina, you said Crocodile. Well, there you are. I think they are the most horrendous things in the wilderness at the moment. Tormented Zombie Owl, you said biting flies. Yes, biting flies are horrendous, as are mosquitoes. And Lance, you said hippo. I don't think that's very kind, Lance. The hippo, although they look terrifying, and yes, they kill a lot of people in Africa every year, they tend to leave the rest of the herbivores alone. So no, I don't think hippos are going to be villainous at all over the next 7 weeks. I'm sorry about that crash from Jamie. She's very far away from us. Very difficult for us to maintain a signal. We will go back to her shortly, but for now, let's head back to the moving Agama lioness.
Well, the Agama lion is moving, and she's led us towards this herd of elephants. They're far in the distance. And she's perched herself up on a termite mound now, as you'll see. Again, gaining a vantage point, making sure there's no prey. She's hungry. She needs to feed for herself, and also, very importantly, for 3 hungry, tiny, little 1-month-old cubs. At the moment, she's heading directly away from them. And imagine being a mother, having to leave one of your stranded cubs in a crevice, 2 of your other cubs in a bush, and have to head off in search of a meal. Hello to Samantha. You would like to know how old will these cubs be when they start hunting? And to be honest, even from about a month old, they start practicing. So they start hunting one another and stalking. Their built-in instinct creates this urge to chase things. And that's the trigger mechanism that all of the predators need to be able to start the chase. If their prey don't run from them, they probably won't know what to do. So from a young age, young cubs will start hunting grasshoppers, lizards, small rodents. And a cub of even 7 or 8 months old, the other cubs from this pride, which you will meet in the coming weeks, maybe even today, they'll be able to latch onto a baby wildebeest by mistake almost. If one gets chased into them during the chaos of the migration, they'll latch onto it, get dragged behind it, and then their mother will come in and probably dispatch it. They do need to still learn a little bit. As much as they do have instinct, they do require some training from their parents, especially with dispatching prey. The art of suffocating their prey is something that they will not know, and that is something that they will have to be taught. Look at how focused she is. Using all of her senses, her eyes, her ears, her nose, just to make 100% sure she doesn't blow any opportunities. And like I said earlier, it's slim pickings out here at the moment. So it looks like she's got a tough day ahead. Hello to Justin. You are wondering what this lioness would most like to eat, and they're not really fussy, Justin. They'll eat just about anything they can get, even if it's old carcasses killed by other animals or that have died naturally that are covered in maggots. So they are not fussy, and they'll take down any prey, from something small like a hare to something large like a buffalo. Now, you guys are going to be heading off in a short while for a break, but be sure not to go too far. As I'm sure you're already aware, there's action unfolding in all corners of the Mara, and we are bringing it to you live and will continue to do so. See you later. Hello the internet peoples. Whew. I think we can maybe possibly get another view of her while we wait for the commercial. Just gonna creep around her very slowly so as to not disturb her. As you can see, she doesn't look too disturbed, or not disturbed at all. How's that, Jandre? Will it work? Okay, which we can only hope for. What I like about this lioness is that very, very distinctive scar below her ear that I chatted about earlier. And that's going to make it very, very easy for us to keep tabs of her. I wonder what happened there. A stray claw from a male, perhaps, who knows, maybe the horn of a prey animal that it tried to take down. It certainly does help us, though. She's also got quite a distinctive notch in her left ear. And I cannot wait to get to know these lions with all of you. And the fact that this lady and her 3 compadres have got at the moment 13 cubs. So not looking too promising there. But great prospects. Okay, well, we're going to send you back to Brent, because his lions are the ones who are going to be the ones that are going to be in the action next.
Well, welcome back. So these are the lions we saw from the top of the hill. Remember, this is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Now, what happened is they actually already killed something, and there it is, just left there, and it's pretty much finished. And the wildebeest nearly inadvertently stumbled in upon them. There's the leftover wildebeest. And I'm just going to swing the car around so we can keep it.
Did you like my samurai there? Shall we do it again, Fergus? Are you ready? How's that picture? Yeah? Do I look very scary? Huh? Okay. I'm going to do hashtag Safari Live, hashtag lion name. Is that fine? I mean, I can't imagine there are too many other hashtag lion names around, are there? Yes? Fine. Good. Just going to go with it. Okay. I understand. Everybody, I've identified this as the mother lion. I don't think pointing at a lion with a knife is a nice thing to do. I think we should get a stick, rather, feather. I'm really putting Fergus through his paces today. The light in here changes. You can see we're quite washed out there on the window. Right. It's getting quite hot in here. See, I polished my shoes, Ferg.
Me too.
Fergus, you do not polish your nails at all. I expect to see them pink and shining next week.
Fergalicious.
Fergalicious on camera. 45 seconds left before Fergalicious and I are back on television in the United States. Nat Geo Wild, yes we are. Where do you want me?
Let's back let the feathers to us.
Okay. And then I'm going to come towards you.
No, not doing that.
No?
No, negative.
Not working. Welcome back, everybody, to your live migration safari. The herds are coming up from southern Tanzania up into the Masai Mara here, and, well, you're watching it all completely live. Now, I have managed to identify the lioness, who is the mother of the 2 cubs and the 1 abandoned one. Here she is over here. She has been, as I said, rather unimaginatively named Agama female number 3. Now, lions are actually quite difficult to tell apart from each other, but she has a very distinctive ear notch over there. Can you see that on her left ear? And I picked it up when she turned her head on the termite mound that she was standing on, and you could see there that she had that very distinctive notch there. So we're going to give her a name. In fact, you are going to give her a name. What I'd like you to do is send through to the hashtag Safari Live in just one word, a name for this lioness. Ideally, it should be something perhaps in Swahili. You can find many different Swahili translations on the internet. And then we will pick 3 of those during the week. And next week you can vote on which one is going to be assigned to Agama female number 3, mother of the 2 little cubs and the abandoned ones. Let's go straight back to the lioness and the cubs now.
Well, she's posing perfectly for you to now see that scar below her left ear. Not quite perfectly to see the notches in her left ear at the moment, but exciting times, and looking forward to giving this lioness a name, and therefore being able to follow her and her pride more closely and more intimately. It's tricky business getting to know wild animals as intimately as we do on Safari Live, and that's one of the joys that we are looking forward to sharing with you, not only with the lions but also the cheetah and the leopards and the hyena. They've all got their own individual personalities and stories, and it's so important for us to be able to follow them intimately, because we essentially become researchers, and you guys can help us to identify them when we find them in the field. So it's a team job, team business, and the more of us that get involved in working out who these animals are and exactly what they do provides researchers with really incredible knowledge as to what these animals get up to. There's still a lot of unknown, especially with the prides in the Masai Mara. They've got very fluid movements, and some of the usual rules are broken. Often young lioness, who usually stay with their natal pride, will actually move off in the Masai Mara and start their own pride. So there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of unknown, fairly chaotic, but that's going to make our lives that much more interesting. Now, Elizabeth would like to know how much further this lioness is going to move away from her cubs, or how far will they on an average journey. And I'm sure there's no real set rule. I think distance is not the major thing. I think time is the major factor here, because they need to get back to suckle the cubs. Obviously, when the cubs are very small, they'll need to go backwards and forwards more often. As the cubs get bigger, they can be left for longer periods of time. At the moment, this lioness is probably about a mile away from where she left the cubs, and I wouldn't be surprised if she traveled as far as 2, 3, 4 miles in search of food. What's so important to remember is that without her looking after herself first, she will not be able to look after her cubs. So there have been circumstances where cubs get the back seats and their mothers do whatever it takes to fill their belly, because if they don't have a full belly, they'll never be able to make enough milk for the cubs. And I think this is exactly what this lioness is doing now. She's trying to secure the next meal for herself and indirectly her cubs. Okay, well, we're gonna have to keep moving to keep up with her. I'm thinking of doing a big loop ahead, so hold on, and we're gonna get going now. So it's going to take us a minute or two to get into a good spot to share the next views with you, but it sounds like Jamie's already in a good position with her lion.
I'm in a wonderful position with ours, and in fact they've been so terribly obliging with us throughout the night and now into the early hours of the morning. You've been watching the drama unfold, of course, with Scott and the Agama lioness and her cubs. These lions are in fact still somewhat dependent on their mother, and they've been calling for her all morning. And I found that particularly with young males, they tend to be very, very attached to their mothers. They tend to be mommy's boys, essentially. And throughout the morning, when they're not distracted by each other or by the wildebeest, the one male lion has been going, oh, oh, like a cub, searching for his mum. She was there last night with us and those 3 wildebeest kills. She's now moved over this ridge, and these 4 young lions are making their way towards where I last heard her roaring. She was the lion that you heard roaring at the very start of this safari. Somewhere just over this ridge, she is waiting for them to come and join her. And at the same time, of course, the wildebeest are around on the other side happening.
There are many wonderful things about a live safari, everybody. One of them, of course, is that you can interact with us. One of the negatives, of course, is that you cannot make a mistake. Brian Everett, thank you very much for getting hold of us and pointing out a mistake that we've made. We're still learning these animals, of course. It would seem that Ron, here, the salon quality hair, is no longer with us. He is 6 feet under or over or whatever's happened to him. And in fact, the other Notch boy, in addition to Notch 2, is Caesar. Now, we've noticed this, of course, because of Brian, and Brent has also seen this chap yawn for the first time. What you can see there is that he's missing his top right canine entirely. So it's actually really easy to identify. Well, if he opens his mouth. When he's just walking, that's him there again, you can see that he's a magnificent beast indeed. So that is Caesar. We've got Caesar and we've got Notch 2. Caesar has, at least Ron has headed off to lion heaven. Let's head straight across back to Brent, who I think has found what was causing the consternation amongst that wildebeest herd.
Well, we're with the Purungut Pride. We saw the lioness chase the wildebeest from way up high on the top of Lookout Hill. Now, we're right at the sort of edge of the migration where it's moving through. Now, there's a small herd of wildebeest who look like they might, without realizing, move towards the lions. So we're keeping an eye on it. Now, you would have seen a few other vehicles around. Now, we are in the National Reserve, so there are other people enjoying the game drives, but I think those wildebeest have made a safe decision because they've just at the last moment changed their direction and they're heading away from the lions. Now, these lions are actually being quite greedy because they already had a wildebeest when they tried to catch the other one we saw from the top. Now, at this time of the year, it is an absolute well, I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, but it is actually quite brutal. The lions will kill and kill and kill, even if they're full. Their instinct takes over as soon as any prey item comes too close to them. Now, of course, it's a really good time, and we've seen it quite a bit of it, is the young ones actually getting involved in the hunts with so many animals there and them carrying so many injuries from the massive migration that they've just undertook or in the middle of undertaking. It sometimes makes it a bit easier for the young lions to survive. Now, just want to watch. She's watching them. They've changed their direction and then again a little bit. And they might still come this direction. Now, hi, Turbo. Turbo's wondering, how long does a lion hunt last on average? Well, Turbo, it completely depends on what they're hunting and where they're hunting. So during the migration, it can be very quick. They can just rush in and cause panic amongst the wildebeest, especially those really big herds, and they can come out with 3 or 4 sometimes. There we go, you can see she's watching them. But if they're hunting buffalo or hippo, that can take hours sometimes to bring down, and it's a big game of chess. I've seen lions wait patiently for many hours for an animal to inadvertently, or not inadvertently, to get towards them. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of visual communication between lions during the hunt. So the lionesses will look at each other, and little signs, that black tip to the tail, the black behind the ears, will often help let the other lionesses know where to move, which way to go. Oh, I can hear in the distance male lions roaring, who I'm pretty sure it's maybe the ghost of Ron Burgundy. You can see how she stopped to listen. Now, again, every individual hunt is a completely different thing, and that brings me to Chris's question. Chris was wondering how close do lions need to get to make a successful hunt. Now, again, it depends on what they're hunting and where they're hunting. Generally, they want to be as close as about 20 meters, which is just over 40 feet. Ideally, they want to be on top of them already. The closer, the better. Lions will very seldom run down animals from long distance unless there's a very obvious physical injury. Oh, listen to that. You can just hear soft contact calls. It's the female calling her cubs. Oom, oom. Now, this pride is in a prime position at the moment to be able to feed and feed some more, with about 50 or 60,000 wildebeest around close by, but 500,000 on the other side of the hill that are going to arrive in this area in the next few days. So it's going to be a very, very productive time for the Purungut pride. And of course, those glorious notch boys we saw earlier. Now, the migration is so massive that we're sitting with at least 500,000 down here towards the Mara River. But Jamie is back north. I completely east of us. With the back end of this 500,000 or so wildebeest, with some lions that are absolutely flat.
On a ridge looking across towards the Serengeti and of course towards Tanzania, and I can see hundreds of thousands of wildebeest still on their way here. Although the Sala's youngest members have had plenty to practice, still more to come. There you go, that's Tanzania over there, and if we go just a little bit to the right there, that would be the rest of the migration on their way. There you go. Those are the wildebeest, believe it or not. Those black dots that you're seeing are streaming down in this direction. Something for down in this direction. Something for our young lions to look forward to, that they can practice some more. Because I think we can all agree on one thing, and that's that they could use some serious practice. I don't think any more practicing is going to happen today, though, although you never know. Lions can be thoroughly unexpected creatures.
There is a lot of unexpectation amongst the lions. I'm not sure that unexpectation is in fact a word. Anyway, we've had some already names, good names, sent through for our lioness. Ariel, you said Sarabi, which means mirage. Susan, you said Tamu, which means sweet. And Mita, you're just 8 years old. Thank you for getting hold of us. You're up very late. You said Jelani, which means mighty. I like that one. Anyway, keep sending them through. We will vote on them next week. So we'll pick 3 and vote on them next week. Speaking of next week, of course, we will be coming to you live, same time, same place. So that's 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Nat Geo Wild. We also broadcast 2 daily safaris on the internet, and all you need to do is search for Safari Live, and you'll find the stream that works best for you. And that's throughout the week, so you can follow the lives of these animals all the time, which is just wonderful. That's why we enjoy Safari Live so very much, and it's what makes us, well, such a part of their lives and makes you such a part of the unfolding narrative that is the migration. Let's head back across to Scott and his lions for the last few minutes.
So we got a very exciting report from one of the other safari vehicles that's just headed out, and they saw a lioness and 2 of the cubs somewhere in this area where they were all left. I'm hoping that this other lioness, not the mother of the cubs, is possibly going to be able to be the one that rescues the cub that's stuck just ahead of us. So we're just going to get into position and try and see if we can see into that crevice where the lioness failed to remove that one single stranded tiny little cub. We're nearly there. I'm just taking it slowly. It's a very steep drop off, and I would hate to take all of us down into this gully. Okay, now let's take a close look in this little hole ahead of us there. Hello to K2 Enterprises. Great to have you with us. You interested to know how long a cub can survive without feeding? And I would say no longer than 3 days would be my guess. But to be honest, this is the first time that I've ever found a stranded lion cub, so I don't have first-hand knowledge on this or experience. Now, where you were looking initially in that little shadowed cave was where we last saw this cub this morning. Now, it appears like there's no way out of there, but interestingly, the lioness did make it down into that little shaded spot that you can see. And as Jandre zooms up and out, you'll notice that there's quite a steep bank down into that little crevice. And that is where this little lion is stuck. Maybe not, maybe it's already been rescued while we were gone, I hope so. But for now, all is quiet here. And that's a good move from this cub. If it was to call out permanently, it could create or attract the attention of hyena or other animals that would cause harm to it. So it'll only call out when it knows its mother and its other siblings are nearby. What I'm thinking of doing is heading back downstream to where we did leave the other 2 cubs and where we had a report of another lioness playing with them. Linda, hello. You would like to know if there are confirmed reports of lions having left their cubs before in the past, and yes, it certainly does happen. Lioness will abandon their cubs if they are not in good health. If their health needs to come first and there's not enough food around, they will not feed their cubs and they will abandon them. So it does happen. Nature can be harsh, but let's hope this doesn't happen here, because the migration is on its way, and as soon as there's full bellies and lots of prey around, these cubs' future will be far, far more brighter. Okay, I'm going to start up. We've only got a few more minutes left of the safari, and I'd love to show you a glimpse of these cute little cubs. While we get into position, we're going to send you back to Brent's. Well, as we disappeared, one lioness, we're following the other, one lioness disappeared off into the long grass, and she made another kill. She's just made this kill. She's carrying it. The rest of the pride who we were following, we couldn't see her. Then suddenly VM said, look, she's got something in her mouth. And in the distance we noticed that she was carrying something. The rest of the pride are on their way down here now. Look, yeah, there we go. She's going to pick it up now. It's a baby wildebeest. She caught a baby wildebeest. Now, I know some of you might find this a little bit sensitive, but the lions do have to eat, and if you are a little bit sensitive, they might start opening up the carcass. I'm just going to give you warning. Remember, this is live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Unscripted and real. Nature at its finest. There we go, she's put it down. The rest of the pride are still on their way here, but they're still quite a way off. And the Purangut pride have had a very successful morning. This is at least their second wildebeest of the morning. Now with the migration around, this is going to happen more and more. There we go, she's going to move it again. She's moving back towards the rest of the pride. And you can see, even though she's not that hungry, she will still kill and keep the carcasses with her. I'm just going to move. No, actually, I'm happy to stay where I am here as she disappears. Here we go. You can see that immense power of that lioness. Now, hasn't this been an amazing live safari from the Masai Mara in Kenya? It has been fantastic. Lions, lions, lions. The migration is coming. Will they get to the poor, hungry Agama pride by next week? But remember, if you want to see what happens next during this most epic animal adventure live, you've got to join us on Nat Geo Wild at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From all of us, bye and see you next Friday.
Yeah.